The Galleria in Houston glowed like honey on glass. On Friday evening, the escalator carried Janelle Nell Carter to the second floor, where coats hung under warm yellow lights. She planned to pick a navy trench to replace her old one, a small reward, after a long week. Nell wasn't looking for magic. She just wanted good fabric, a calm mirror, and then home. The salesgirl brought 3 coats, navy, a gray one with a belt, and a black one with soft shoulders. "Fitting rooms are at the end," the girl said. Nell pulled the curtain of the middle room. The fabric whispered and closed the world to a blur of sounds. The navy coat hugged her shoulders like it understood her. The cloth was thick and smooth. The stitching was straight. She turned and tried to button it. Right then, the air felt thin, like the top of a glass cup. From the room on her right, a man's voice started slick, familiar, so familiar her spine tightened at once. Trev Banks. Relax, baby. It's fine. She doesn't know anything." Nella's hand froze in midair. His voice dropped, bragging, "The loan's done. The money goes to a card in her name, Janelle's, clean as a blank page. My credit's wrecked after the car mess. The bank just did a quick call for show, then pushed it through. In 2 weeks, Cancun, 5-star, all-inclusive. She thinks Eam on a work trip." In Nella's mind, small puzzle pieces snapped together. The Atlanta trips, the odd hours, him holding her bank card for convenience, the cash he handed back each week, bank alerts going to his phone. One cold word lit up: financial abuse. Not a news headline, it was standing right behind a thick curtain. The woman with him laughed. You could almost hear the red lipstick through the fabric. "How much?" Trev said. $45,000, 3 years. About $1,500 a month. She won't notice. Her paycheck comes in, she gives me the card, I transfer. I tell her it's for bills. She's the trusting kind." Nell sat on the small stool. Shame and anger struck each other like sparks. Then a switch flipped. Quiet, precise, by the book. She took out her phone and opened the voice recorder. A small red circle pulsed like a heart that had picked a side. The screen lay face up on her knee. The timer climbed each second, a pin holding truth in place. 2.5 minutes drew the map. "Buy the shoes and the clutch you want. I'm tired of hiding. After this trip, I'll talk to her, maybe divorce if we split the apartment 2/3. Under those smooth words was the machine of financial abuse. Control of cards, control of accounts, control of alerts. Nell listened like a tech, logging details and sealing them in software in her head. The curtain in the next room swished open. Heels clicked on the floor. Nell hit stop and saved the file. She took off the coat and hung the trench back with 2 fingers, like returning something that wasn't hers. She opened her curtain. Warm light poured in. Trev turned and smiled at Kendra Miles' black dress, round hoop earrings, then his face went white. Kendra stalled, her smile gone. Janelle. Trev swallowed. Why are you here?" Nell lifted the phone. On the screen, a file name and hi, Bamuyan length. Her words were neat and flat. "I don't need your excuse. The court will hear your voice." Trev stepped back half a step, his hands grabbing at air. Kendra stared at her shoes, like she had found herself at an edge. The salesgirl peeked in. "Ma'am, did the Navy work?" Nell smiled and shook her head. "It's lovely, but I don't need it now." She walked past them close enough to catch vanilla mixed with vape smoke, far enough to avoid any story spinning. Arguing here would turn truth into noise. The truth was already in the phone, with a timestamp and sound waves. The escalator took her down. The Galleria light slid along the steel like a band of stars. Inside her chest, the words financial abuse echoed 3 times, sharper each time. She saw the rivets that held the machine together. Trust misused, steps bent, a forged signature. Outside the glass, Houston was dotted with rain. Nell called Erica Rika Carter as she passed the gate. "I'm coming to your place tonight." Rika answered, short and firm, "Come home. I'll make tea." Cry for 10 minutes. At minute 11, we write the report. Nell let out a long breath. A plan took shape. Bank in the morning, security office, signature samples, verification loan canceled, then the precinct. She stopped at the railing on the first floor and looked over the plaza. Nellie opened her notes. Tam, Bonmui Gulf Star Bank, Midtown Fraud Ops. Bring ID, marriage cert, statements, ask for a case number. She added a line to herself. Don't blame yourself for trusting. Blame skipping the signals. Her phone buzzed. A text from a known number. Nell, it's a mix-up. I can explain. She locked the screen. Not yet. This was the hour of black and white paper and the right signature. From the steps, she watched the parking lot. The city kept its simple logic. Red light, green light, cars left, cars right, people cross at the lines. In that rhythm, she found a straight axis. Collect, confirm, report. Part of her still shook, but another part had pulled tight like a strong cord. She thought of Erica, the T, and the professionals who would look her in the eye and speak in the voice of their craft. Well, handle it. A taxi pulled up. Nell gave the driver an address in Eastwood. As the car merged into traffic, she touched her coat pocket. The phone was warm and heavy, like a small bar of iron. Inside was a high Bamwi file, just a few megabytes, strong enough to hang a plan in the light. Stay calm until things have a name and the road has signs. Rain drew lines on the window. Nell practiced tomorrow in her mind the questions, the order of papers, where to sit. Her sentence returned like a mile marker. I don't need your excuse. The court will hear your voice. It stood there, something she could lean on. And under that sentence, a question reached out through the thin sheet of rain. If one day a familiar voice behind a wall drops a truth you never expected, what do you do first, walk away or argue on the spot? Leave a short answer, so tomorrow. Houston rain dotted the taxi window as Nella returned to her midtown apartment. In the elevator, her face looked calm in the mirror, strange after being cut by the truth. The door opened, dry wood and a hint of vanilla. She turned on the lights, set her keys in the tray, and stood still, one beat so her heart could catch up with her head. She checked the place like a tech person. Mailbox, drawers, monthly bill folders, Trev's coat thrown sideways. Where did I miss the signs? The question passed by. Not tonight. Tonight needed clear words. Her desk sat by the Main Street window. In the second drawer, a white envelope with no label. Inside, a consumer loan contract, add-ons, signature pages. First line in bold, Janel Carter. Amount, $45,000. Term, 36 months. She studied the signature. The J leaned the way she writes it, but Carter was broken and pressed down too hard. It looked right, but wasn't like a cheap copy of her name. She whispered, "That isn't my signature." Her phone buzzed. She called Gulf Star Bank. "Gulf Star Bank, this is Keisha Martin." Nell sat up straight. "I think there's a loan in my name that I didn't sign." Keisha verified her info, paused, then said, "Clear and firm. There is a $45,000 loan issued 3 days ago. The main contact number doesn't match yours." The sound of that sentence was like a switch. Keisha guided her. "Please come to fraud operations in the morning. Bring ID and any samples of your signature. Well, open a case and send the documents for review. If it's forgery, the loan will be canceled, fees and interest removed, and the file sent to law enforcement." In Nella's mind, the name of the harm clicked into place. Financial abuse, not a family mix-up. Nella hung up. She slid the papers into a clear folder and set it by her wallet and ID. Then she pulled out a gray suitcase, a few outfits, sleepwear, toiletries, chargers, a notebook. The room watched her pack like it was the first time its owner made a choice without asking anyone. She put the phone in her pocket and noticed her hands were no longer shaking, only cold steel, kind of cold. The lock turned outside. Trev came in. Nell stood tall. He looked at the suitcase, the clear folder, then at her. "Nell, I can explain." She pointed at the folder. "Here's the contract. And here's the 2:30 audio file. Tomorrow, you can explain to the right people." He swallowed. "Don't make a scene. We're married." Nell zipped the suitcase. The hiss sounded like the last line of a chapter. "You started the noise behind a curtain. I'll end it with procedure." He reached for her shoulder. She stepped back. "Don't touch me," Trev begged, piling up words like, "Pay it back. You didn't see, I promise." Nell answered flat as glass. "I don't need to not see. I need to see clearly." She walked past him like passing an old ad. The hallway smelled like new carpet. The elevator was slow going down. Night air met her at the door. Nell called a ride to Eastwood. Erica Rika Carter opened the door with her hair tied up, wearing a big sweatshirt. "Come in." Mint tea steamed. Rika set a tissue box on the table. 10 minutes for tears. At minute 11, we write the report. In those 10 minutes, Nell told it plain. The curtain, the bragging voice, the $45,000, the broken signature. Rika didn't cut in, just refilled the hot water. At minute 11, Rika turned the laptop toward them and named the file, Checklist, Overnight. Bullet points appeared. Clear folder. ID plus contract plus related statements, 650. Call an Uber. Arrive at bank before 8:45. Note time of hotline call. Name, Keisha Martin. Take photos of the forged signature. Ask permission to record, if allowed, after the bank sheriff's financial crimes. Ask for Detective Kelvin Rhodes. Rika. Read each line slowly, turning fear into action. We're not running from tonight, she said. We're walking straight through it to get to morning. Nell leaned back and listened to the keys tapping steady, like a clock finding the right beat. I thought I should have been smarter. She sighed. Rika shook her head. People aren't dumb for trusting. The dumb one is the person who abuses trust. The phone buzzed, unknown number. Nell, where are you? I have cash, let's talk. It was my bad credit. Nell flipped the phone face down. Tomorrow, all replies will be in black ink. Rika nodded. Yes. Feelings sit in the back seat. Paperwork drives. Nell showered, put on Rika's sweater, and sat by the window watching the streetlights pull long golden lines. If they ask why I didn't catch it earlier, she thought, I'll say, some thieves don't break doors, they copy your voice onto the key. She opened her notebook and wrote a rule for herself. No one touches my wallet unless my eyes are there too. Rika brought a thin foil blanket and 2 pillows. Sleep. Tomorrow you only need 3 words. I confirm this. Nell smiled and pulled the blanket to her chin. The AC hummed. She set an alarm for 6 and added a reminder. Clear folder plus audio file. Then she typed one more note. Why act now, so fear doesn't grow roots? Before sleep, Nell checked the folder again and snapped a photo of the fake signature under the kitchen light. Her phone read 11:37 p.m. She pictured the fraud operations room, wooden desk, a scanner, a middle-aged man with a name badge that said, Mr. Leonard King. That picture gave her a steady kind of calm, better than any promise, a door that would open in the morning, on time. Night tipped into quiet. Erica cleared the table, turned off the kitchen light, and left the hallway light low. I'm going with you tomorrow, she said softly from the doorway. I don't need to talk. I'll stand there. Nell nodded. Some people are like anchors. They don't pull you back. They keep you from drifting. Outside, the rain turned to mist. The city hummed like a machine working as it should. In the middle of that sound, Nell dreamed of the boutique curtain again, but this time, her hand didn't shake, and the red record button was in reach from the start. She woke with a small smile. Not because everything was fixed, but because everything now had a name. Morning would come, and with it the working roles, the hotline person with a name, the bank security staff with business cards, the detective with a badge. Nell curled under the blanket and whispered a line for herself, then drifted off. Tomorrow, I don't need anyone to believe with their ears. They'll believe with paper. The microwave clock blinked green. The Eastwood apartment breathed easy. In Midtown, her place stood still, quiet like a witness. Here, beside Erica, Nellie heard a different quiet, the quiet of a plan set in the right place. She closed her eyes for good and let the last thought slide across her mind like a caption for the morning ahead. The bank opens at 9. So does the story. Houston woke under a thin cloud. Atam. Bamulama. Janelle Nell Carter and Erica Rika stopped at the glass doors of Gulf Star Bank in Midtown. Nell held a clear folder. The loan papers, photos of the signature, her ID, and the phone with a high-minute Bamwi recording. Are you here for fraud operations? The receptionist asked. Yes. The guard buzzed them in. Mr. Leonard King will be right out. A frosted glass door opened. A middle-aged man with a dark blue tie and a badge that read, Mr. Leonard King stepped out. Hello, Miss Carter. Come in. His voice was neat and steady, like a straight line. The office was small, a desk, 2 chairs, a scanner, a pen set at a right angle. He pulled out a chair. Tell me in time order, with as many details as you can." Nell took a breath. The Galleria, the curtain, Trev's voice, the Bon Mulam, hum. She doesn't know anything, the Cancun plan, the moment she opened the recorder. When the sound waves rolled, the room heard the man in the file tie himself up with his own words. Mr. King did not cut in. He only marked a few key words with his pen. The audio stopped. Mr. King nodded. "Please give me the contract." Nell handed over the original. He set it next to a copy of her ID and slid his glasses down. "We will do 3 things. 1. Open an intake report. 2. Collect fresh handwriting samples. 3. Do an internal signature review. If it is forged, we cancel the loan, remove fees and interest, close the account, and send the case to law enforcement." Nell nodded. Her quiet yes fit like a bolt into the right groove. Mr. King set down 3 blank sheets. "Write this line 10 times. Sign your full name and your initials. Don't try to make it pretty. I need your normal hand." Nell's hand moved steady. Rika sat on the edge of her chair, silent. The samples went into the scanner tray. On the screen, curves, angles, and ink pressure showed up. Mr. King zoomed in on Carter on the contract. An overlong cross on the T, a strange join. Then on Nella's sample, a short T, even pressure. He circled in red, even by eye. They don't match. Nella's shoulders dropped. Mr. King smiled. "Let's make the report." He read each line slowly for Nell to confirm. Time, place, what was heard, names, dollar amount, control of alerts, planned use of money. Nell added 3 details. Cancun, the line about split the apartment 2/3, and Trev using his own phone number for bank alerts. "Very good," he said. Typing. "What path do you want?" "Cancel the loan, block payments, switch all contacts to my number, send the file to the county police, and please alert me before you contact the other party." Mr. King agreed. "I'll set a do not contact suspected party flag for Bonmuitam hours. All updates go to you." He pointed at the last box. "Sign here and write, 'I did not open this loan.'" Nell signed. This time her line did not shake. Rika let out a small breath. "One more thing, Mr. King said softly. "If he controls your spending habits, he may have tried other channels. Do you want abnormal activity alerts, 2-factor login, and a change to your contact priority?" "Yes." He opened his control panel, set Nella's phone as the top contact, added a new email, and set a guardian password. From now on, if anyone tries to change things, the system calls you first. Nell heard a tiny click inside herself like the lock of her own life opening. Mr. King printed the report and handed over copies. "Bring these when you speak to the investigators. They will line up the times from the audio, the contract, and the call logs." He met her eyes and said each word clearly. "This is not your signature. We'll handle the rest." The desk phone rang once. He picked up and hung up. "Good news, the internal review took your file right away. I've put you at the front." He clipped a red jacket on the file. "And, Miss Carter, the part people avoid, this is not marriage trouble. This is a planned money control system. Give it the wrong name and it slides. Give it the right name and it stops." Rika nodded. Nell said, "Thank you for calling it what it is." They left the room. By the front desk, someone talked about a stuck ATM card. Nell thought of all the times she let small things pass because she trusted the person holding the wallet. She opened her phone and changed her email password. No more dog's name plus birthday. A hard string hard to remember, and that was the point. Sun broke across the lobby glass. They waited 30 minutes for the receipt. "How do you feel?" Rika asked. Nell looked at her shoes. "Lighter. Not because someone forgave me, but because the truth now has a frame." A staff member brought out an envelope. "Miss Carter, here is the receipt and your appointment slip. When the review is done, we will call you directly." Nell held the envelope like a ticket out of a tunnel. She asked, "What if the other side tries to pull money while we wait?" Mr. King stepped up. "It's locked. Any try will be logged. You'll get the alert before I do." He paused. "You're doing the right thing." Outside, the morning breeze felt less damp. Nell opened her notes. "From now on, money choices go through my eyes, my hands, and the system." She added one more line. "I don't run. I coordinate." On the side, she typed 2 words as a warning label for herself and anyone following this story. Financial abuse. Rika touched her shoulder. Now to the sheriff. Nell nodded. Before she pushed the glass door, she checked the time. Muy high. From the curtain moment to now, everything had a name, a file, and a person in charge. The door spun. Street noise and new sun came in. They crossed the white lines together. Across the way, the sheriff's financial crimes building showed through the trees, close enough for a calm walk. In Nella's hand, the envelope felt warm. Somewhere between her palm and her spine, a fine line pulled tight straight, strong, no more shaking. She lifted her chin and gave a tiny smile, like a person signing after the hand remembers the right habit. Then she walked on. The Harris County Financial Crimes Office stood quiet under the oak trees, near 1030 A.M. Janelle Nell Carter and her sister Erica Rika Carter went through security. In Nella's hands was a bank envelope. Mr. Leonard King's receipt, a copy of the loan papers, photos of the fake signature, and a USB with the 2-minute 30 recording. The receptionist pointed them to the second floor. On the frosted glass, financial crimes, interviews. A man in his early 30s, white shirt, gray tie, name tag Detective Kelvin Rhodes, opened the door. Miss Carter, please come in. Rhodes poured water. Tell it in order of time. Nellie did. The Galleria, the fitting room, Trevon Trev Banks' voice behind the curtain. $45,000, the work trips that were really a Cancun plan. The moment she hit the red record button, she set the USB on the desk. Rhodes nodded and opened the sound file. The man's voice slid out of the speakers like he didn't even realize. Rhodes didn't comment. He asked short, clear questions. What phone number got the bank alerts? Who held the card? Any written permission? Store name? Fitting room spot? About what time? Nell answered and matched each answer with her receipt, signature photos, and call log. When he looked at the contract, Rhodes raised his glasses. The T in Carter here crosses way too long. The join is not how your hand moves. He looked up. Don't blame yourself. Forgers learn fast what love hides. Nella's shoulders dropped. Someone inside the system had finally named it right for her. Rhodes turned on the station recorder. Date, time, place, people involved. Nell spoke simply but with facts. The Cancun package, the line 2 parts him, 1 part you for the apartment. Trev moving alerts to his own number. His habit of holding her card and handing back cash. At the bank alert part, Rhodes typed, took over verification, steered the money, personal gain. He spoke slowly. This is fraud and a forged signature. It is also a pattern of financial abuse, control of accounts, moving the flow of information, and cutting you out of decisions. The air felt heavy, then lighter. Here is the process, Rhodes said, closing his notebook. I'll file this as a financial fraud case within a marriage. 2 paths. 1. Criminal charges that can end in a guilty verdict. 2. A restorative plan that focuses on the victim. He signs a confession, pays you back, and takes probation, supervised freedom, with strict rules. He paused. Both are fair in different ways. The question is, which voice do you want your future to have? Nell asked. If I choose the restorative plan, will safety be strong enough? Rhodes nodded. You can ask for a no-contact order. You can switch to criminal charges if he repeats the harm. The most important thing is a living chain of proof: your audio file, the bank receipt, and the signature review. He flipped to a clean page. I need a written statement in your hand, 4 parts. Events, evidence, harm, requests, Nell wrote. In the requests, she added, cancel the loan, share the file when needed, full payback, safety first, send all updates to me directly. Rhodes nodded. Clear. He slid over a signature page. Sign and print your full name. Nell signed. Rhodes turned off the recorder and said a steady line she could lean on. The law won't speak instead of you, but it will make your voice louder. He clipped the file and added a label. I will call in Trevon Banks. If he admits guilt, I'll suggest the restorative package, fair payback, 2 years of probation, and a signed promise not to repeat. If he dodges us, we go criminal. Erica asked, how soon will you call? Within 3 business days, Rhodes said. This file is priority. Rhodes handed over his card. This is my direct number. If you get strange texts, screenshot them and send them right away. Don't bargain alone with fear, make it answer in writing. They left the room. In the elevator, Nell looked at the envelope pressed to her side. It warmed with her body heat. Outside, the sun opened wide. Rika asked, "If he comes and signs, which way will you choose?" Nell weighed money back versus peace. "I want restorative justice if it locks his old habits and opens new doors. But the rules will be written, signed, and witnessed." They stepped down to the sidewalk. Nella's phone buzzed unknown number. She opened it. "Janelle, can we meet and talk?" She took a screenshot and sent it to Rhodes. "This just came." A minute later he replied, "Noted. Do not answer. We will call." In Nella's mind, tomorrow's list appeared. Check 2-factor logins, change the rest of the passwords, print extra copies of the file, ask for a half-day off if more signing is needed. At the edge of her thoughts, a question rose. If he signs a confession and the payback hits her account, which debt will truly be cleared? Money debt has a receipt. Peace debt needs time. And a third kind, the debt to herself, can only be paid by living her days in a clear, steady way. Rika tugged her sleeve. "Let's eat, then head back to Montrose." Nell nodded. Before leaving the lot, she looked back at the glass building, as if to confirm, from today on, the important answers will pass through this door and through people who call things by their true names. Across the street, a cafe sign facing the park caught the light. Its door stood a little open, as if waiting for someone to come in and set a hard meeting. Nell took a slow breath. Maybe this afternoon she would sit in that coffee smell, hear a plea, and set conditions in black ink. Even though the case now lived in a police file, the story had another chapter where the voice of the past must learn how to speak to the present. Afternoon light in Houston lay thin over Buffalo Bayou. The wooden sign at Bayou Bean Cafe, "Fresh Roast," swayed in the wind. Janelle Nell Carter arrived 15 minutes early. She chose a table by the window, looking at the wet grass by the water. She set her file envelope next to a cup of black tea and listened to the spoon tap the mug, like a soft drum for a meeting that already had its ending written. Trev Banks walked in at 3 sharp. His shirt was wrinkled. His tie hung loose. He stood at the door for a second, then came over with a weak smile. "Nell, I'm sorry." "Sit," Nell said. Her voice was flat and clear. One hand stayed on the envelope. Coffee smells filled the room. He started with the usual lost words. "Misunderstanding. I can explain. I'll pay it back slowly. Let's not make this a big family thing." Nell looked him in the eye. "This already has a name. At the station, it sits in the right drawer. Fraud, forgery, and financial abuse. If you want to talk with the law too." Trev paused. "I went to the bank. They told me to wait." "But you don't have to, I do," Nell said. "Everything has to go on paper in black ink, and some things won't pass through your mouth anymore." The server brought more water. Trev changed tactics. "I know I'm wrong, but I'm deep in debt. If you push this, I could lose my job. You lose too. Let's handle it at home. No outsiders." Nell leaned back and let the next line land like a stamp. "The outsider's name is the law." She slid the envelope toward him. 3 paths. 1, agreed divorce. Split assets 50-50, you sign the county forms today. 2, if you can afford to buy my share of the apartment, I'll give you first chance. 3, if you want to fight, we go to court. I can walk all 3, but the first is fastest and cheapest for you. He opened the envelope and saw the bank receipt, the appointment slip, and the written summary about the audio. His eyes blinked fast. "Nell, do you really want to end it?" "We have 8 years. Not we," Nell said. "It's me for 8 years with a big block of silence." "You used that silence to cover the sound of stamped papers." His voice turned soft and wet. "I was wrong, but Cancun was just one crazy idea. I'll cancel it. I promise. You keep Cancun," Nell said. "I keep my honor." Silence fell. Trev bit his lip. "What about the apartment?" "I can't afford to buy your share. If we sell, I'll have nowhere to go." "Then we sell," Nell said. "Each of us gets our part. I can give you 2 weeks to find a place, but I won't give up the truth." She set down another paper. "A petition for dissolution form. Fill in your name. You file your copy today." "I already filed mine." He stared at the paper like it was a thick glass wall. "Is there any way you could withdraw your filing?" "There is," Nell said, by turning time backward, giving me back every second behind that fitting room curtain at the Galleria, and changing the hand that signed my name. If you can do that, go ahead and try. Trev gripped the table until his knuckles went white. Nell, I never planned to leave you. I just lost my way. People who are lost look for a map, Nell said. People who choose the wrong way tear down the road signs. He breathed hard. If I sign, will you keep me out of criminal court? I'll cooperate. I'll pay. Detective Rhodes suggested a restorative plan. You admit guilt, pay the money back, and take probation, Nell said. I don't need you in jail. I need a clean ending and clear lines. For a second, his face relaxed. Then he tried to bargain. If so, the apartment should be 60-40. I paid many bills. No, Nell cut in. 50-50. I don't bargain with someone who put his hand on my signature. He leaned back. Dark clouds pulled a curtain over the sky beyond the window. You want to know why I can sit here calmly? Nell asked. Because since yesterday, everything of mine goes through my eyes, my hands, and a system that alerts me. No one stands between me and the truth anymore. Trev looked at the envelope, then at Nell. The server set down the check. He took out a pen, rolled it in his fingers, still stalling. Nell spoke slowly and clearly. Sign your divorce form. Then call Detective Rhodes, set the time to confess, and the repayment terms. I'll be there. His hand shook. Then he bent and signed. Ink sank into paper. Okay. I'll go to the station. But please, don't tell anyone else. I won't tell, Nell said. The file will. He put down the pen. If I pay everything, if I follow the rules, is there any chance? Every chance needs a foundation that isn't borrowed from someone else's name, Nell said, closing it. Build your own foundation. They stood. The door chime rang softly. Park wind blew in and flipped the receipt once before it lay flat. Trev stuffed papers into his bag. His eyes were dull like rain about to fall. He walked 2 steps, then turned. Nell, you once said marriage is 2 people pulling the same rope. I let go. I'm sorry. She didn't answer. Some apologies are just tools to close a folder. Trev left. Erica walked in with 2 light raincoats. Done? Nell nodded. Signed, now call Rhodes. She dialed and put it on speaker. The detective's calm voice came through. I'm here. Trevon Banks agreed to sign the divorce papers and will come in on your schedule. I confirm, Nell said. Rhodes replied, noted. I'll summon him for tomorrow afternoon. Ms. Carter, you set the repayment amount. Nell looked at Erica. 10,000 in 3 months, and a no-contact order. Approved, Rhodes said. I'll draft it. Nell hung up. Rain began. She put on her coat and looked at the brown water the drops hit and made small rings, each ring a borderline. She whispered, You can keep the vacation dream. I'll keep the right to sleep in peace. They stepped out. On the cafe steps, Nell glanced back at the wooden sign. Under it, someone had chalked, What will you do to protect your tomorrow? She smiled. If you're watching this and facing a meeting like this, write 1 line in your mind tonight. Tomorrow, when the old voice calls, will you sit down with the law or with fear? Your answer will open the next part. Financial abuse. See you in Chapter 6, where the truth speaks. The next morning began with a call from Gulfstar Bank. As the sun touched the eastwood window, Nell heard Mr. Leonard King's calm voice. The internal review is done. The signature on the loan is a forgery. I've started the cancel process, erased all fees and interest, closed the payout channel, and set warning flags. Please bring your ID to get the decision, then stop by to update your contact info. Nell held her phone tight. It felt like a window opening in a closed room. She asked Erica Rika Carter to go with her. On the way to Midtown, she thought about the curtain at the Galleria, how a voice once thought it was above the law, but now had to answer to the file. Mr. King's office smelled like new paper. He set a notice of determination in front of her, forged signature, loan canceled, credit restored, case sent to authorities. I also changed the order of verification, he said, typing. Any change must call you first. Here is the alert log, and here is a free support pack for victims of financial fraud. Nell signed the last box. The pen on paper sounded like a zipper pulling a room back into place. Her shoulders felt light, not because someone forgave her, but because the truth was fixed in ink. Rika touched her back. Let's do the next step. At the sheriff's financial crimes office, Detective Kelvin Rhodes had a small room ready. The door closed just as Trev Banks walked in, shirt pressed too flat. He glanced at Nell, then looked down. Rhodes opened the file. Mr. Banks, this is your one chance to pick the restorative path. Do you admit you forged the signature, moved the alerts, and used the money without permission? Trev swallowed. I admit it. Rhodes typed without expression. My proposal. Pay the victim $10,000 in 3 months, 2 years of probation, a no-contact order. If you repeat the harm or miss payments, we file criminal charges at once. Trev looked up like he wanted to bargain. Nell set her hand on the table. I choose a clean ending. You choose your road. You own the cost. In that moment, a long fog inside her chest broke apart. Fear stepped back. Clarity stood up. Rhodes read each page and pointed to the lines. Confession statement, payback schedule, no contact promise. Trev signed. The ink sank into each letter like small stones on the old plan. When the last page flipped, Rhodes said, steady as a beam, we're done here for the criminal side. For the civil side, work with the court. Nell nodded and took the papers. Trev paused at the door. Nella, thank you for not pushing for a heavy charge. She didn't look up. I pushed you into the truth. That afternoon, the sisters went to the Harris County Civil Courthouse. At the help desk, a silver-haired woman with a badge, Mrs. Geraldine Moore, smiled behind her glasses. Consensual divorce? This way. Submit ID copies, filing fee, then window 4 for your slip. Nell handed the forms across. The red received stamp sounded neat and final. Average wait is about 30 days, Mrs. Moore said. Watch your email for the last signature date. She held Nella's gaze a little longer. Many people come here in fear. You came here with a process. Process is your armor. Nella smiled. Thank you for guarding the door. The next weeks moved like a true montage. An agent showed the midtown condo, the smell of new paint mixed with the old hallway, polite comments. A young couple stood long at the Main Street window. I love the light, the wife said. They made an offer, put down a deposit, and signed on day 14. The closing happened in a bright room. Thick stacks flipped, stamps thumped, pens passed from hand to hand. In the end, one quiet number, $130,000 wired to Nella's account. Her phone pinged a green line. Incoming wire, 130,000.00. She breathed in, slow. No fireworks, just an anchor lifting from the bay floor. On moving day, Rika pulled on gloves and opened boxes. Take what is yours, she said. Don't take what belongs to old memories. Nell chose clothes, a few marked-up books, the dishes she bought herself, and a pot of blooming African violets. The new place in Montrose was small, with a balcony facing oak trees. When the movers left, the room waited to be named. Nell closed the curtains and turned on a warm lamp. She opened her laptop, changed every password, turned on two-factor for email and bank, removed unknown devices, saved screenshots in a folder called When I Need It. She typed a line, from now on, money choices go through my eyes, my hands, and the system. That first evening in Montrose, Miss Monica Ellis called. I reviewed the monthly report. You did well, steady, clean, few errors. The boss's tone felt like a small, exact stamp. If you need time for personal matters, just tell me. Nell thanked her. After the call, Tamika Jones sent a photo of a blue ocean. Next month, should we book? Brittany Reed sent a dumbbell emoji. Gym on Wednesday. No backing out. Nell looked at the violet blooms and replied to both with 2 words. In. 3 days later, Detective Rhodes texted, Trevon Banks made his first payment. The no-contact order is active. I'm monitoring. If you get any odd calls or texts, screenshot and send. Nell replied, Got it, and set the phone down. On the desk, the notice of determination sat beside petition, received 2 road signs at each end of a path so she could walk safely in the middle. At noon on Sunday, Nell walked along Allen Parkway. The bayou moved quietly. She stopped at a small market, bought a checkered tablecloth and a glass jar for 3 stems of eucalyptus. Back home, she set the table. The cool scent felt like a long, gentle breath. Sitting down, she realized peace isn't always silence. Peace is hearing a spoon tap a cup and not jumping. In the afternoon, an email came from the court. The final signing would be next Friday at 10:30 a.m. Below were notes on dress and the entrance gate. Nell read every line, set reminders, and printed extra copies. She pictured the room, the long table, the clerk calling names, her stepping up to sign, then receiving a paper with a raised seal. It would not erase 8 years. It would recognize a new day. That night, a strange number flashed and hung up, then left a short text. "We need to talk. Just 5 minutes." Nell took a screenshot and sent it to Rhodes. The reply came fast. "Noted. Ignore." She set the phone down and poured more hot water. Outside, Montrose lights came on early. A dog barked 3 times, then stopped. The room held the scent of eucalyptus and the low hum of the AC. Before bed, Nellie opened her notebook and wrote a today's close list. Loan canceled. Restitution has started. Old home sold. New home lit. This side of the river reached. She drew another line and wrote smaller, "What is the far side? The thing that will call my name in the morning." When she shut the notebook, a thought tapped the doorframe of her mind. After leaving a trap, can a person learn to trust anyone besides herself? She didn't answer. She tilted her head and listened to the new home breathe, then turned off the light. In this city, every building is a straight-standing story. In each story, there's a quiet part like this long enough for someone like Nell to put down old fear and take one small step toward dawn. Friday is very close now, with the court's glass door, the paper with the raised seal, and a question that will rise when she signs. After all this, what is still missing for a life to truly change its voice? Morning in Montrose began with sparrows on the power lines. Wind moved through the oak trees by the balcony and pushed a light eucalyptus smell into the new apartment. Janelle Nella Carter woke at 6, made a small pot of coffee, and opened her notebook to the page Ordinary Day. The first 3 lines, written in blue pen, said, "Arrive to work on time. Keep steady breathing. Speak slowly." She put a dot at the end, like signing a calmer version of herself. Her phone buzzed once, the second payment from Trev Banks, right on the repayment schedule. Nell glanced and turned off the screen. One problem was losing its name. "At noon, Ms." Monica Ellis stopped by Nella's desk. "This week's finance report is clear as glass," she said, warm but firm. "I see you added a new check layer." Nella nodded. She explained her hourly cross-check table, her simple standard deviation flag, and the light gray mark for odd transactions, small data habits she built as a fence. Ms. Ellis smiled. When people place fences in the right spots, the view stays safe. It was a short compliment that went deep, being seen for skill, not for a wound. In the afternoon, Brittany Reed pushed open the gym door holding 2 dumbbells. "Leg day," Brittany said, eyes bright like neon. "No early mercy." Music started. Nell felt her body grow heavy, counting with each breath. In the 3rd set, a line came to her not to be mad, but to remember, "No one puts a hand on my wallet unless my eyes go with it." Sweat ran down her temple. One swipe and it was gone. She felt an inner armor, the kind with buckles made from facts fitting just right. In the evening, Spanish Mote Chamlair Mote, Montrose Community Center, 8 students. Paper and marker smells. Caleb Townsend arrived early and set a new pen on her desk. "Gift smooth ink, no smears." She laughed. "For encouragement or to watch my homework?" "Both," Caleb said, his calm eyes like a road without potholes. She used to fear calm eyes. They seemed to demand that you be calm too. Now she only feared promises without process. Caleb didn't promise. He made a plan. "Thursday there's an intercambio, language exchange over coffee. If you want, we can go together." Nell nodded. The word together did not feel heavy. Mid-class, she glanced at her phone by accident. The court email for next Friday's signing still sat bright in her inbox, a finish line already painted. "Lista? Ready?" the teacher called, pulling the room into talk. Nell spoke slowly, as she had lived the week. "Estoy aprendiendo a vivir despacio. I am learning to live slowly." Caleb tilted his head and smiled. A poster in the corner said, "La verdad es un mapa. Truth is a map." After class, they walked along Allen Parkway. River wind pulled a few hairs loose at Nella's neck. "Did you ever think you'd start from scratch?" Caleb asked. "I'm not starting over," Nell said. "I'm continuing just with the right book." He nodded. Bats curved through the yellow lights, the city sighed. Caleb pointed at the water. "Water has memory. It knows the lower path." Nella half joked, half meant it. People should have notebooks. On the weekend, Tamika Jones pulled Nella to the farmer's market by the bayou. "Summer beach plan's still open, right?" Tamika tried on a straw hat. Sun conceal the small cracks. Nell ran numbers: restitution coming in, condo sale done, emergency fund okay. "We'll go," she said. "But not to forget." Tamika laughed. "To remember we survived." They ate mango popsicles while sunlight broke into bright pieces on the sidewalk. In the days after, normal life had small details with meaning. Nell taped a note inside the cabinet door. "Don't text when tired. Don't sign when rushed. Don't answer when afraid." On the table, she set a eucalyptus jar beside the African violets. Each morning the purple leaves trembled a bit, like a greeting. On Wednesday the court emailed a reminder. "Bring ID, enter East Gate, door ba." She read it 3 times like lines before filming. The night before signing, rain hit hard. Nell stood by the balcony glass, watching lightning split the sky. She remembered pulling the curtain at the Galleria. She didn't scream, didn't smash, didn't freeze. She pressed rec. Some courage makes no sound. It makes data. A strange feeling ran down her spine, not pride, not sadness, more like hearing herself finally speak her own language. Friday morning, the Harris County Civil Courthouse was steady, not crowded. The clerk called her name. Nell stepped up, signed, and got a paper with a raised seal. It was as quiet as a hand fitting a stamp into its frame. On the steps, Rika hugged her. 1 page done. Nell nodded, softer eyes. Many blank pages left. They ate chicken soup at the small spot across the street. The steam pushed the rain smell away. Rika spun her spoon. "Some people think endings are a high note. I think they're a correct note." Nell laughed. "A correct note? You sound like a conductor." In the afternoon, the last repayment from Trev hit her account. No strange sounds, no extra apology. Just one clean line backed by a signed agreement. Detective Kelvin Rhodes emailed, "Restorative file complete. No contact order stays. Call if anything odd happens." Nell replied, "Thank you." At the bottom, his digital signature looked like a thin tendon, someone holding the other end of the cord. That night, Caleb came to Montrose with a paper bag, toast, tomato soup, and a song. He plugged a USB into a tiny speaker. Soft guitar moved through the room. They talked about harmless things, black and white films, the neighbor's mustard armchair, the funny way mañana means tomorrow but feels close and far at once. By the third track, Caleb spoke slowly, like stepping down a dark stair. "I'm not great at promises. I'm good at showing up. If you need a plan, I'll follow your plan." Nell touched her cup and let the heat answer first. Something inside shifted defense, moving toward careful trust. She looked at him. "We have time." Late, Tamika sent a flight idea, some Mexico beach that wasn't Cancun. "We go so the sea can return to the sea," she wrote. Nell stared longer than usual, then pinned the message to the top. Not to run away, to close a circle by her own hand. The next weekend, Nell and Brittany started a tiny ritual. After the gym, they walked to the car and stayed quiet for 5 minutes. "Silence is the ending," Brittany said. "Skip it, and the next song will screech." In those 5 minutes, Nell counted steps and felt her body clear, like a machine just serviced. One sunny afternoon, an email invite came. A short community talk on personal risk management. The organizer asked Nell to share one slice of her story, no names, just fences and habits. She read the note 3 times. Refuse or accept. She pictured a mic and the line, "I didn't look for a rescuer. I learned to rescue myself." The invite sat quietly in her inbox, like a stone set at the river's edge, not yet ready to drop. That night, Montrose dimmed slowly. Streetlights came on late. Nell stood on the balcony, watching the curtain breathe with the AC. Somewhere else, people still thought financial abuse was a private family thing. Here, it had a case code, review notes, and payment slips. She took a deep breath and remembered Rhodes' words. "The law won't speak instead of you, but it will make your voice louder. The rest is on her. Speak short, speak true, put it on paper. Her phone buzzed. Caleb sent a river photo under a bridge with 4 words, slow is still forward. Nell smiled and typed back 4 Vietnamese words, chum machaknya. She put down the phone, poured more hot water, and set the teapot straight. In that moment she understood. What was growing in her home wasn't more stuff, it was space for full breaths. At the table, Nell opened her notebook and added a line, trust first, love after. Below it she drew a thin line and marked small ticks. Legal, money, body, feeling. Each day she colored 1 tick with blue pen. No applause, none needed. Life was not a stage now, it was a work schedule. And on that schedule, tomorrow had 1 big box, intercambio, Bay PM. She thought about her opening Spanish line, Caleb's soft laugh, and a night where she didn't have to prove anything, just show up. Nell closed the notebook. On the balcony, wind touched the violet leaves and made a small rustle like a quiet knock. She felt curious. What does the far side of peace look like when you swim there on purpose instead of being swept? The question waited by the doorframe. At the bottom of the page she wrote a line for anyone following this story. When a new rhythm starts, what will you fill it with, a habit that helps you stand tall, or a promise without a date? Choose tonight, because the next part begins with that choice. Sunday afternoon, the Montrose sun leans through the window like a golden ruler on the wooden table. Janelle Nellie Carter closes her notebook with blue pen marks, pulls the curtain halfway to let the breeze in, and feels the cool eucalyptus touch her shoulder. 3 months after the bank canceled the loan, after the court stamped the final decree, after all restitution arrived and the no-contact order stood at the edge of her life, her small apartment breathes steady like a body that just got well and can sleep without jumping awake. The Thursday night intercambio still echoes friends practicing words, the smell of strong coffee, and the phrase, "Como te sientes hoy?" How do you feel today? Said clearly without stumbles. Caleb Townsend brings handmade flashcards, confianza, trust, limite, boundary, papel, paperwork. These 3 words build peace, he says, half joking. Nell smiles. I'll add 1 more. Recibo receipt. Survivors know peace is not a feeling. Peace is a file that can stand upright. This morning, Detective Kelvin Rhodes emails, restorative case, complete. No contact order, active through probation. If he repeats harm, we file criminal charges. Hotline, my direct number. When Nell reads complete, it feels like someone puts a small, warm stone in her palm. Not because anyone soothed her, but because the law did its job. On the kitchen wall, the yellowed note with 3 rules. Don't text when tired. Don't sign when rushed. Don't answer when afraid. Is now an active voice. I text only when I'm clear. I sign only when I understand. I answer only with paperwork. Simple lines like seatbelts quiet, not loud but tight in sharp turns. Afternoon drifts soft. Erica Rika Carter knocks twice, carrying white peaches and herbs. Let's cook, she says, and tell me your Spanish lesson of the week. Nell boils water and shares how the class stood in a circle to say 1 sentence starting with aprendí. I learned. Her turn. Aprendí que la verdad necesita papel. I learned that truth needs paper. Rika lifts an eyebrow. Exactly. Paper is the backbone of justice. They laugh and cook, onions sizzle, the place smells like a calm, real home. At dinner, Nella's phone shows a strange number and stops. She leaves it. A minute later, an email lands subject, request for story, financial literacy night. A community group in Montrose writes, we're hosting a short talk on personal risk management. Please share your parts on building fences and getting through the night with black and white paperwork. No names, no calling people out. It's for anyone hurt by financial abuse. Nell reads twice, quiet for half a minute. Inside that quiet, she hears herself answer with a new voice, not I will rescue someone, but steady like water. I will share how I rescued me. Except, Rika says, reading her mind, tell it as a map, not as pain. Nell nods. Come stand with me. Rika smiles. Always. The next night, the Montrose community room glows warm. About 30 people sit spaced out, quiet enough to hear each other. Miss Monica Ellis comes early and sits in the back, solid like a strong chair. Brittany Reed brings a giant water bottle and winks. 10-minute walk after this to close the rhythm. Tamika Jones drops a beach photo in the group chat. Keep those tickets open for the season's closing song. The host calls Nell. She stands at the mic and touches the edge of her folder. "I'm Janelle Carter," she says, calm and plain. "I once stood in a coat-fitting room and heard my voice stolen from my wallet and redrawn on a signature that wasn't mine. The rest, many of you know, the bank, the detective, the court, the no-contact order, restorative terms, selling the condo, moving. I'm not here to tell pain. I'm here to tell a root." The room settles, like everyone turns on a desk lamp. She lifts a thin folder under the light, no waving, no show. These 4 pages stood straight for me. The bank noticed that the signature was fake, my timeline statement with names, the court decision, and the detective's email promising follow-up. Together, they turned a family matter into legal facts. Not all financial abuse is loud, most of it whispers. My job was to turn up the volume with paper. A small laugh, then useful silence. A hand goes up. "What about fear?" "Fear is background noise," Nell answers. "It won't vanish. But when you hit record at the right time and save in the right place, the noise moves back." Another woman asks, "What if family says, 'Don't make a scene'?" Nell looks straight ahead. I say, "The scene is already big. It's just hiding in a wallet. The air shifts. Someone chuckles, then hush. I don't push anyone to copy me," she says. "But here's a simple map with 3 lanes. 1, work with the bank to name the event and stop the money flow. 2, work with the detective to name the behavior. 3, work with yourself. Change passwords, change habits, change the words you use. I text only when I'm clear. I sign only when I understand. I answer only with paperwork. Those are the 3 hinges on the door I use every day." In the last row, Miss Ellis nods on tempo. Nell ends with the line Rhodes once gave her, the beam inside her house. "The law won't speak for you, but it will make your voice louder. The rest is yours, own your volume." The room claps small, steady, like testing a new bridge. Afterward, a young woman walks up. "I thought financial abuse was just news," she says. Nell smiles. "The news shows the surface. Underneath, it's daily habits pushed out of your hands." The woman asks, "What if I don't have proof yet?" "Start with habits. Anything over $50 goes through your eyes. All contact changes must call you directly. Until you have proof, don't add new holes." The woman nods hard, like an arrow just hit center. That night, back home, a plain envelope sits under Nella's door, no stamp. Inside, 1 blank page, neatly folded. She flips it, no info. She photographs it and texts Rhodes. "Anonymous envelope." He replies in 2 minutes. "Logged. Likely a prank. Keep it. Don't respond." "I'll send a patrol pass." She files it in a clear sleeve labeled, "Empty is still data." Calm but alert, that's Nell now. Next morning, Brittany pulls her out for a walk. "Each loop is a music note," Brittany says. "We run the show. We hold the baton." Nell laughs. "Only this conductor has the bank and the police in the brass section." They both laugh and walk in metronome steps. At noon, Caleb texts, "You said truth needs paper. I think truth also needs witnesses." Nell replies, "And a schedule." He sends a flyer for another school talk. "If you aren't ready, we can just listen." She thinks, then types, "Let's listen first. No rush to be a symbol, enough to be a person doing her part." A week later, the bank emails, "New advanced fraud alerts now for personal accounts. Please enroll." Nell reads the features and smiles. She already does most of this. She signs up and adds a note. "Please add. Change priority contacts after a shock event. People forget to tie the roof after the storm." The bank answers kindly, added to the roadmap. For the first time, roadmap shows up in her own story without strangers steering it. Afternoon, Tamika books flights, not Cancun as promised, but a quiet Baja Bay. "We go to give the sea back to the sea," she writes, "and to remind ourselves, some places are beautiful without anyone else's money." Nell hears waves from a place she hasn't seen yet and feels light, like setting down a heavy pack. She types, "Let's go." The night before the flight, she stands on the balcony and watches Houston cool down. In the quiet, she remembers an old list of fears. A turning lock at midnight, bank alerts on the wrong phone, unknown calls, silent dinners. The list is shorter now, not because life has no risk, but because she has a process. Process isn't romantic, but it lasts. At dawn, airport lights dot the ceiling. Tamika and Nellie clear security fast, a small, gentle sign for takeoff. At the gate, Tamika asks, "Piece out of 10, where are you?" Nell thinks, 7.5. Enough. Why not 10? 10 is a myth. 7.5 is human. Humans leave space for alertness, so when financial abuse knocks on someone else's life, we hear its footsteps. The plane lifts. The city shrinks under the clouds. Tamika asks, "After this trip, will you keep speaking in the community?" Nella picks words carefully. "If it helps, yes. But it'll talk like a map. No one needs me to cry for them." Tamika grins. "Deal. And, do you think you'll trust someone again?" Nella looks out and thinks of Caleb, the man who doesn't sell big promises, only shows up on time. "Yes," she says, but with a new inner contract. Trust first, love later. Trust with a calendar, love with boundaries. The beach greets them with deep, gentle light. They roll up their pants and step into the water. "Water has memory," Caleb once said. Nell scoops a handful and hears the whisper in her palm. People can forget the pain, but don't forget protection. She lets the water go and watches thin waves erase old footprints. That night, the hotel balcony opens to a starry dark. Nell gets an email from an unknown address. "Your story helped me name mine." No name. No signature. She replies with one useful line. "Once your story has a name, it sits still in a file. The rest is yours. Pick a start date." She turns off the phone and listens to the sea, moves slow like a pen sliding across paper. Back in Houston, ordinary days wait like an old friend with new habits. Nell keeps going. Spanish class, gym, steady work with Miss Ellis. One afternoon, Caleb takes her to a small midtown bookstore. On a shelf sits a cloth notebook stitched with "Ledger of Small Braveries." "You need it," he says. "Write down each right move, even tiny ones." Nella buys it and writes on page 1, "The day I chose the procedure over the loud voice." Then, a small twist at the right time, a call from the bank, not an alert, but an invite. "Miss Carter, we're building a community financial education program. We'd like to interview you about the user experience." Not a title, a full circle. A person who walked through the dark gets asked for a map in daylight. Nell says yes, with a condition. Only if a 24/7 helpline is live and a one-page guide for financial abuse victims is easy to find. The bank replies, "Well, send a draft for your notes." For the first time, co-author enters her story and fits. That night, Rika brings a small frame. The two of them standing outside the courthouse on final sign day. No tears, no big smiles, just a straight line at the mouth, the correct note. "Where should it go?" Rika asks. Nell hangs it by her desk, under the paper that says, "Don't text when tired." So every time I look up, she says, "I remember the rhythm I chose." Montrose moves into soft wind. The violet leaves on the sill turn a deeper color like a memory that no longer haunts, only decorates. On the weekend, Nell, Caleb, Brittany, and Tamika sit outside a cafe. 4 cups line up like a written song with rests between parts. Caleb shares his affordable housing project. Brittany boasts about next week's leg day. Tamika plays a slow Cuban track. Nell leans back and hears life run on a quiet machine, not fake quiet, but serviced and sound. Before they part, Caleb hands Nell a folded flyer. "Photo exhibit next week. There's one picture I think you'll like." She opens it. A woman stepping over a white street line, holding a folder. Ordinary framing, beautiful for that reason. In the margin, a handwritten line, "Slow is still forward." She tucks it into her wallet between her 2 most important cards. That night, Nellie writes in the Ledger of Small Braveries, "Ignored a strange number. Sent evidence to Rhodes. I slept well. Accepted a talk and asked for a clear help channel. Kept the rhythm. Trust first, love later." She sets down the pen. The lamp throws a pale gold on the bed's edge. In the corner, the African violets tremble once like a tiny note closing a long score. If your heart feels a small spark right now and you want to do one thing today, do something concrete. Open your banking app and check priority contacts. Open your email and turn on 2-factor. Open your wallet and make a pact with yourself. I text only when I'm clear, I sign only when I understand, I answer only with paperwork. The road out of financial abuse isn't measured in tears. It's measured in actions you can write in a notebook. Nella's story closes here not with a loud bang of anger, but with the soft click of a lock turning the right way. Closing doesn't mean ending. At the edge of this screen, a new shoreline rises. A nameless letter drops into Rika's mailbox. A neighbor spots a strange charge and asks Nell to look. A photo at an exhibit hides a clue. They might be nothing but wind or hints for the next story, where another voice needs a microphone and another file must learn to stand straight. If you've watched all 66 minutes, stay one more beat. The next question is already knocking. Before you go, let's keep the fire for stories that call things by their real names. Subscribe so YouTube walks you back to this wooden table when a new episode lands. Comment with one thing that helped you and one thing you want us to dig deeper into. One line can open a door. And if this video isn't perfect yet, tap. Like it's a clear signal that helps us tune the rhythm and make the next episodes truer. Maybe tomorrow night another click will sound not a lock, but an old drawer opening to a paper folded in half. When it does, well, sit down, smooth it flat, name it, and write one more line in the ledger of small braveries. Because slow is still forward and truth, as promised, is waiting on the table.